Listen, while everyone's out there burning their wallets on overpriced SUVs and crossovers that depreciate faster than my New Year's resolutions, there are 3 cars sitting in used car lots right now that dealers practically beg you to take off their hands. And here's the kicker. These so-called boring cars are actually gold mines that'll save you thousands while giving you everything you actually need. I'm talking reliable, cheap to maintain, and stupid practical. But nobody wants them, which is exactly why you should. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 3 forgotten heroes deserve a spot in your driveway. And trust me, your bank account will thank you.
All right, let's talk about the Mazda 2. Now, I know what you're thinking. A Mazda 2? Really? That's just a tiny hatchback my aunt drives to a yoga class. And you know what? Your aunt is actually smarter than most car buyers out there. Because while everyone's fighting over used Civics and Corollas like they're the last toilet paper rolls during a pandemic, the Mazda 2 is sitting there quietly being one of the best-kept secrets in the used car market. Here's the thing about this car that nobody tells you. Mazda didn't just build a small, cheap runabout and call it a day. They built what automotive journalists have been calling the most fun you can have under 15 grand for years. And I'm not making this up. This little rocket on wheels has handling dynamics that would make cars twice its price jealous. We're talking about a car that weighs less than 3,000 pounds, has a nearly perfect 50-50 weight distribution, and drives like Mazda actually gave a damn about the person behind the wheel. Because they did. But let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say, the mouse in the room. It's small, really small, and people see that as a weakness. They walk past it at the dealership thinking it's some penalty box on wheels, something you drive because you have to, not because you want to. Wrong. Dead wrong. The Mazda 2 size is actually its superpower, and I'll prove it to you. First off, let's talk about that engine. Now, it's not going to win any drag races. It's a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder making around 100 horsepower, which on paper sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry. But here's where Mazda's engineering brilliance comes in. That engine is part of their SkyActiv technology, which is basically Mazda's way of saying, we made engines that actually work the way they're supposed to. This thing gets 40 miles per gallon on the highway without breaking a sweat. Let me repeat that. 40 miles per gallon. In a world where gas prices swing up and down like a yo-yo on Red Bull, you're basically driving past gas stations waving at everyone else filling up. And that SkyActiv engine is not just efficient, it's bulletproof. We're talking about an engine that mechanics actually get bored working on because it never breaks. Timing chains that last the lifetime of the car. No weird oil consumption issues, no mysterious check engine lights that cost you $1,000 to diagnose. It just works, day in, day out. There are Mazda 2s out there with over 200,000 miles still running on the original engine and transmission, like it's no big deal. Try finding that kind of reliability in a European city car. I'll wait. Now let's talk about what happens when you actually drive this thing. Remember, I mentioned that 50-50 weight distribution. That's not just some nerdy stat I'm throwing around to sound smart. That means when you take a corner in this car, it doesn't understeer like a shopping cart with a broken wheel like most economy cars. It actually turns in sharp, stays planted, and makes you feel like you're driving something that costs 3 times as much. The steering is direct, the chassis is stiff, and the whole car just feels eager. It wants to be driven hard. There's a reason why the Mazda 2 has a cult following among autocross enthusiasts. These people could be driving Miatas or hot hatches, but they choose the Mazda 2 because it's that much fun. But wait, it gets better. Maintenance costs on this thing are absurdly low. We're talking about one of the cheapest cars to own in terms of long-term costs. Oil changes are cheap because it barely needs any oil. Brake jobs? Those tiny wheels mean tiny brake components, which means cheap parts. Tires? You can get a full set of quality tires for less than what you'd pay for 2 tires on a crossover. Insurance companies look at this car and basically shrug because it's not fast enough to be dangerous and too small to do much damage, so your premiums stay low. It's like the car equivalent of being under the radar. And here's something nobody talks about, but absolutely should. Parking. In a world where parking spots seem to be shrinking while cars are growing to the size of small boats, the Mazda 2 slides into spaces that would make a smart car proud. Parallel parking becomes easy mode. That tight garage at your apartment? No problem. That spot at the grocery store that everyone else passes by? You're in. City driving becomes less of a stress-inducing nightmare and more of a watch me thread this needle flex. The interior is another place where the Mazda 2 punches way above its weight class. Sure, it's small, but it's not cheap. Mazda used decent materials, the controls fall right to hand, and everything just feels solid. No creaky plastics, no rattles after 6 months. The seats are actually supportive, which is rare in this segment. You're not sitting on cushions that feel like they were made from recycled cafeteria trays. And for a small car, the visibility is incredible. You can see all 4 corners of the car, which makes maneuvering in tight spaces even easier. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you this car is perfect. It's not. The back seat is basically decorative unless you're transporting small children or people you don't particularly like. Cargo space is limited, so if you're planning to move a couch, rent a van. And yes, on the highway, that small engine means you're not going to be passing 18-wheelers with reckless abandon. But here's the reality check. Most people drive alone most of the time. Most people are commuting to work, running errands, maybe taking a weekend road trip. For 90% of what normal humans do with cars, the Mazda 2 is more than enough car. And let's talk money because that's why you're here. These things are cheap on the used market, like shockingly cheap. You can find clean examples with reasonable mileage for under 10 grand, sometimes even under 8 if you're patient and shop smart. That's Honda Civic money, except the Civic will have twice the mileage and a history that includes 3 college students who treated it like a mobile dumpster. The Mazda 2 flew under everyone's radar, which means the used ones are often in better condition because they were bought by people who actually took care of their cars. So here's the bottom line on the Mazda 2. It's small, it's efficient, it's reliable, it's fun to drive, and it's cheap to own. While everyone else is overpaying for boring crossovers that handle like cruise ships and guzzle gas, you could be zipping around in this little rocket, saving money, and actually enjoying the act of driving. Your wallet will be thicker, your stress levels will be lower, and you might just find yourself taking the long way home because the car is that entertaining. The Mazda 2 isn't a compromise. It's a revelation for anyone smart enough to look past the brand snobbery and SUV obsession. It's proof that good things really do come in small packages. And the best part is, almost nobody knows about it, which means more for you.
Now, speaking of cars that fly completely under the radar, let me introduce you to the automotive world's most underestimated overachiever, the Mitsubishi ASX, or as it's known in some markets, the Outlander Sport. And I can already hear the collective groan. Mitsubishi? Seriously? Aren't they the brand that gave up? And that's exactly why this is your golden ticket. See, when a brand becomes the automotive equivalent of that kid who sat in the back of the class and nobody noticed, their cars become criminally undervalued. And the ASX? It's basically free money sitting on dealer lots, judged by a badge instead of its actual merit. Let me paint you a picture. It's the mid-2010s. Everyone and their grandmother suddenly decided they needed a compact crossover. The Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, and Mazda CX-5 were selling faster than concert tickets to a reunion tour. Prices went through the roof. Used ones held their value like they were made of gold. And quietly, in the corner, Mitsubishi was building the ASX, giving you 90% of what those popular kids offered for about 60% of the price. But because it wore a Mitsubishi badge instead of a Honda or Toyota one, people walked right past it like it was invisible. Their loss, your gain. Here's what nobody tells you about the ASX, and this is where it gets interesting. This thing is built on the same platform as the Lancer, which means it inherited some serious engineering DNA from Mitsubishi's rally heritage. Now, I'm not saying this is an Evo in disguise, so calm down. But what I am saying is that the bones of this vehicle are way more robust than people give them credit for. The suspension geometry, the chassis rigidity, the way it handles for a crossover, it all points to a company that actually knew what they were doing when they built this thing. Let's talk engines, because this is where the ASX separates itself from the forgettable crossover crowd. You've got options, and both of them are solid. The 2-liter 4-cylinder is the volume seller, making around 148 horsepower. Not setting the world on fire, but more than adequate for daily driving and highway merging without feeling like you're piloting a shopping cart uphill. But here's the kicker.
Fuel economy sits around 26 combined, which for a vehicle with actual ground clearance and all-wheel drive capability is genuinely impressive. You're getting crossover practicality without the crossover gas bill. And then there's the torque. That 2-liter engine produces 145 pound-feet of torque, which doesn't sound like much until you realize it's available low in the rev range. That means in real-world driving, the thing feels punchier than the numbers suggest. You're not waiting for the engine to wake up when you need to overtake or merge into traffic. It just goes. No drama, no fuss. Now, let's address the elephant in the showroom. Mitsubishi's reliability reputation has taken some hits over the years, and I'm not going to stand here and pretend they're Toyota. But here's the dirty little secret that mechanics won't tell you because it ruins the narrative. The ASX is actually rock solid. That 2-liter engine is a proven workhorse that's been used across multiple Mitsubishi models for years. We're talking about an engine that's simple, understressed, and has virtually no common catastrophic failure points. No turbochargers to explode, no complex direct injection systems to carbon up, just a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder that does its job day after day without complaint. The continuously variable transmission, the CVT that everyone loves to hate, is actually one of the better ones in the business. Mitsubishi partnered with Jatco on these, and while CVTs will never be as engaging as a good automatic or manual, this one doesn't have the awful rubber band feel that plagues cheaper implementations. It's smooth, it's reliable, and most importantly, it doesn't grenade itself at 80,000 miles like some other CVTs we could mention. There are ASX models running around with 150,000 miles on the original CVT, still shifting smoothly. That's not luck, that's decent engineering. But let's get to the really good stuff, the all-wheel drive system. This isn't some wimpy front-wheel drive with an all-wheel drive badge slapped on for marketing. Mitsubishi has been building legitimate 4-wheel drive systems since the Pajero was conquering deserts in the Dakar Rally. The ASX gets a proper multi-mode all-wheel drive system that you can actually lock into 4-wheel drive when you need it. Snow? Handled. Light off-roading? No problem. That sketchy dirt road to the camping spot? The ASX will get you there while that 2-wheel drive sedan is spinning its wheels in the parking lot. And here's the beautiful part. The system is smart enough to stay in front-wheel drive most of the time, which means you're not burning extra fuel unless you actually need the traction. Ground clearance deserves its own moment here. 8.7 inches. That might not sound like much, but it's more than enough to handle speed bumps without scraping, navigate poorly maintained roads without bottoming out, and give you that elevated driving position everyone seems to crave these days. You're sitting higher than a sedan, but not so high that you need a ladder to get in like some of these bloated modern SUVs. It's the Goldilocks zone of ride height. Interior space is where the ASX really surprises people. From the outside, it looks compact, and it is, but Mitsubishi somehow managed to package the interior brilliantly. Front seats are spacious, with good headroom and legroom. The back seat can actually fit real adults without them needing to meditate themselves into a pretzel shape. And the cargo area? It's legitimately useful. We're talking about enough space for a serious grocery run, camping gear, or that awkward IKEA furniture box that never quite fits in a sedan. Fold the rear seats down, and you've got a surprisingly flat load floor that can swallow way more stuff than you would expect. Build quality is another area where the ASX punches above its weight class. The interior materials aren't luxury grade, let's honestly, but they're solid and hard-wearing. The plastics don't feel brittle, the switchgear has a satisfying click to it, panel gaps are tight and consistent. It feels like a vehicle that was built to last, not just built to make it through the warranty period. And in a world where modern cars seem to fall apart if you look at them wrong, that's genuinely refreshing. Now, let's talk about the financial side of this equation, because this is where your brain should start doing cartwheels. A used ASX in good condition can be had for a fraction of what you'd pay for an equivalent Honda or Toyota. We're talking thousands less. Like, take a nice vacation with the money you saved less. And here's the beautiful irony, maintenance costs are comparable, sometimes even cheaper. Parts are readily available, and because the mechanics are straightforward, labor costs stay reasonable. You're not dealing with proprietary tools or overly complex systems that require a doctorate to service. Insurance companies haven't caught on to how capable these things are, so your premiums stay low. Depreciation? It's already happened.
These things dropped in value faster than stocks in a recession, which means when you own one, it's not going to lose much value anymore. You're essentially driving a car that's hit the depreciation floor, which means your money's locked in. Sell it in 3 years and you'll get back most of what you paid for it. And here's something that's genuinely underrated about owning an ASX: reliability in the unsexy sense. This car won't leave you stranded, it won't throw random check engine lights that require expensive diagnostics, it won't nickel and dime you with constant repairs. It just works. Boring? Maybe. But boring is beautiful when you're on a tight budget and you need a vehicle that shows up for work every single day without drama. There's a reason you see these things racking up huge mileages in fleet service and as family haulers. They're unkillable. The Mitsubishi ASX isn't sexy. It's not going to win any beauty contests, and your neighbors aren't going to ask you about it at the block party. But what it will do is save you a fortune, get you where you need to go in all weather conditions, carry all your stuff, and do it all without breaking down or breaking your bank account. While everyone else is hemorrhaging money on overpriced CR-Vs and RAV4s, you'll be driving something just as capable for thousands less, smiling every time you check your bank balance. That's not settling, that's winning.
All right, buckle up for this one, because we're about to talk about a car that most people have never even heard of, and that's precisely why it's brilliant: the SEAT Ateca. Now, if you just said the what out loud, congratulations, you're exactly like 99% of car buyers, which is why this Spanish crossover is one of the smartest purchases you could possibly make right now. SEAT, for those playing along at home, is basically Volkswagen's sporty Spanish cousin. Think of it like this: if Volkswagen is the responsible older sibling who wears sensible shoes, SEAT is the one who shows up to family dinners in a leather jacket. Same family, same DNA, way more personality, and a lot less money. Here's where this gets absolutely wild. The Ateca sits on the Volkswagen Group's MQB platform. That's the same architecture that underpins the VW Tiguan, the Audi Q3, and even the Skoda Karoq. We're talking about a platform that costs billions to develop, used across some of the most popular and expensive crossovers in the world. But because SEAT doesn't have the brand recognition of Volkswagen or the premium badge of Audi, the Ateca gets massively overlooked. And that oversight? That's your opportunity to buy German engineering without the German price tag. It's like finding designer jeans at a thrift store because someone cut the label out. Let's dive into what makes this thing special. And trust me, there's a lot to unpack here. First up, the engines. SEAT offers the Ateca with a range of turbocharged power plants, and every single one of them is punchy, efficient, and proven. The 1.5-liter TSI is the sweet spot for most buyers. It's making around 150 horsepower, but because it's turbocharged, you've got that instant torque hit that makes the car feel way faster than the numbers suggest. We're talking about a crossover that actually hustles when you need it to. Highway merging? Done. Overtaking slower traffic? Easy. And all while returning fuel economy figures that'll make you wonder if the gauge is broken. We're looking at mid to high 30s combined, which for a vehicle this size and this capable is borderline witchcraft. But if you really want to experience what the Ateca can do, you hunt down one with the 2-liter TSI engine. This is where SEAT stops playing nice and shows you what happens when you let the sporty sibling tune the engine. 190 horsepower, 236 pound-feet of torque, all-wheel drive. This configuration turns the Ateca from a practical family hauler into something that genuinely puts a smile on your face. It's quick. Like, did that crossover just embarrass my sports sedan? Quick. 0 to 60 happens in the low 7-second range, which is hot hatch territory. And the best part? It still gets reasonable fuel economy and doesn't cost a fortune to insure because nobody knows what a SEAT is. The handling is where the Ateca absolutely demolishes the competition, and this is not an exaggeration. Remember, this is built on the same platform as the Audi Q3, but SEAT's engineers tune the suspension with a focus on engagement rather than just comfort. The steering is direct and actually communicates what the front wheels are doing, which is shockingly rare in modern crossovers. Body roll is minimal, the chassis feels tight and responsive. You can actually throw this thing into corners with confidence, and it rewards you by staying composed and predictable. It's the kind of handling dynamics you'd expect from a premium German crossover, because, well, it basically is one, just without the badge tax. Now let's talk about the interior, because this is where you really see the Volkswagen Group influence paying dividends. The build quality is exceptional. Solid plastics, tight panel gaps, doors that close with a satisfying thunk instead of a tinny rattle. The dashboard layout is intuitive and driver-focused. The materials feel upscale, with soft-touch surfaces where your hands actually rest. The infotainment system is lifted straight from the Volkswagen parts bin, which means it's user-friendly, responsive, and comes with features like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto standard on most trims. You're sitting in an interior that rivals cars costing 10 grand more, and it shows. Space is another area where the Ateca impresses. Front seats are supportive and comfortable, with plenty of adjustment range to accommodate drivers of all sizes. The rear seats offer genuine adult-sized legroom, not the knees in your chest experience you get in some compact crossovers. Headroom is generous front and rear, and the cargo area, it's massive for this segment. We're talking about 510 liters with the seats up, which expands to 1,604 liters with the seats folded. That's actual usable space, not just marketing numbers. You can fit full-size luggage, sports equipment, the weekly grocery haul for a family of 4, and still have room left over. The load floor is flat and low, which makes loading heavy items way easier than in taller SUVs. But here's where the Ateca really starts to separate itself from the pack: technology and safety features. SEAT packed this thing with equipment that was usually reserved for premium brands: adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring. These aren't expensive options on high-end trims. They're standard or readily available features across the range. You're getting safety tech that can genuinely prevent accidents wrapped in a package that doesn't cost luxury car money. Euro NCAP gave the Ateca a 5-star safety rating, and it aced pretty much every test they threw at it. This is a seriously safe vehicle that doesn't make you compromise your budget to protect your family. Reliability is something people always worry about with non-mainstream brands, but here's the reality check you need to hear. The Ateca uses Volkswagen Group components throughout. That TSI engine? It's the same one in countless VWs, Audis, and Skodas, racking up massive mileages across Europe. The transmission? Volkswagen's 7-speed DSG dual-clutch transmission, which, when maintained properly, is one of the best automatic transmissions you can get. Smooth, fast, efficient. The all-wheel drive system? That's Haldex, the same setup used across multiple premium brands. These aren't experimental parts from some unknown supplier. This is proven German engineering with millions of miles of real-world testing behind it. Maintenance is straightforward and affordable. Because SEAT is part of the Volkswagen Group, parts are readily available and competitively priced. Any mechanic who can work on a VW can work on a SEAT. Service intervals are reasonable. There are no weird proprietary systems that require special tools or dealer-only diagnostics. It's just a well-engineered vehicle with good parts that are easy to service. And because the brand is less popular, you're not paying the everyone wants one premium on parts and labor that you'd see with a Tiguan or Q3. Let's talk money, because this is where your accountant does a happy dance. A used Ateca in excellent condition costs significantly less than an equivalent Tiguan or Q3, despite being virtually the same vehicle underneath. We're talking about savings that could cover a year's worth of insurance, or a really nice vacation, or just sitting a bank account earning interest instead of evaporating through depreciation. And with the way used car prices have been behaving lately, you might even make money on it if you time the market right. Insurance companies look at the SEAT badge and see low theft rates and modest repair costs, so your premiums stay reasonable. Fuel economy is excellent across the engine range, so you're not constantly feeding it premium gas. And the driving experience is engaging enough that you'll actually look forward to your commute instead of dreading it. That's a quality of life improvement that's hard to put a price on. The SEAT Ateca is proof that sometimes the best deals are hiding in plain sight, disguised by unfamiliar badges and lack of marketing hype. It's a Volkswagen Group crossover with German engineering, Spanish flair, and a price tag that makes you wonder if someone made a mistake. Spacious, safe, well-built, fun to drive, and cheap to own. While everyone else is fighting over used Tiguan's and saving up for overpriced Q3s, you could be driving essentially the same vehicle for thousands less, enjoying every mile and laughing all the way to the bank.
So, there you have it. 3 cars that the masses completely ignore, and 3 absolute gold mines for anyone smart enough to do their homework. The Mazda 2 proves that small can be mighty. The Mitsubishi ASX shows that badge snobbery costs you real money. And the SEAT Ateca demonstrates that sometimes the best cars are the ones nobody's heard of. These aren't compromise vehicles. These are strategic choices made by people who understand value, reliability, and actual driving enjoyment over hype and marketing. While everyone else is overpaying for the safe choice, you could be driving something just as good, if not better, for a fraction of the cost. If this video just saved you thousands of dollars and opened your eyes to some seriously underrated cars, do me a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because we're constantly digging up hidden gems like these that the mainstream automotive media won't tell you about. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video where we might just find your next car. And drop a comment below. Tell me which of these 3 surprised you the most. Or better yet, tell me about the underrated car you're driving that everyone else sleeps on. I read every single comment, and who knows, your suggestion might become the next video. Remember, the best car isn't always the most popular one. Sometimes it's the one everyone else overlooked. Now get out there and find your gold mine. I'll see you in the next one.